One of the amazing things about Jesus is that we can read from the Scriptures that he had a superiority over that of nature. If you look in the Gospel accounts, we can read about how he walked on the water and he commanded the sea to be silent. Both of these events are found in the Gospel according to Mark. If you turn to Mark chapter 6 verses 45 and 46, you can see how Jesus tells the disciples to step onto the ship and to precede him to the other side, to Bethsaida. Meanwhile, he goes to a mountain and prays. He does so for quite some time until it becomes evening. And what happens is that there is a storm that develops on the sea, and the disciples become afraid, and Jesus actually walks to them, walking on the water. We can see this in verses 47 through 50. And having become evening, the ship was in the middle of the sea, and he was alone upon the land. And he saw them tormented by the rowing, for the wind was adverse to them. And he comes to them around the 4th watch of the night, walking upon the sea, and he was willing to have passed by them. But when they saw him walking upon the sea, they thought it to be an apparition, and cried out, for they all saw him and were disturbed. But immediately he spoke with them, and says to them, Have courage, I am here, do not be afraid. It says in verse 50, For they all saw him and were disturbed. This is something that all of the people in the boat saw him do. And it goes on in verse 51. And he went up to them into the ship, and the wind paused, and they were exceptionally astonished in themselves, and marveled. This is absolutely reasonable to marvel, to be astonished at this, because you don't see people walking on the water every day. It is clearly something that shows that Jesus was not merely a man. But then it continues. If we go back to Mark chapter 4, we can read of another account where Jesus commands the sea to be silent. It says in Mark chapter 4, verses 35 through 38, And in that day, when it became evening, he says to them, We should go over to the other side. And having left the crowd, they take him with them, as he was in the ship. But also other small boats were with him. And there comes a great gale of wind, and the waves were casting water into the ship, so that the ship now is filling with water. And he himself was upon the stern, sleeping upon the cushion. And they arouse him from his sleep, and say to him, Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing? So the people are clearly concerned. They are seeing that their lives are in danger, at least from their own personal experience. That's what they would think. And yet, look what happens whenever Jesus is aroused. Verse 39. And he was aroused and rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, Be silent, hush. And the wind paused, and there became a great calm. It continues in the verses that follow. And Jesus actually rebukes them. And he said to them, Why are you so cowardly? How do you not have faith? And they feared with a great fear, and were saying to one another, Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea are obeying him? This is a great question, something that is totally reasonable, considering that Jesus did rebuke the wind. He did say to the sea, Be silent, hush. And the wind and the sea obeyed him. This is but another indication that Jesus is divine. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and have a nice day.